Mark had just taken a pay cut at his job. They had 2 kids and a mortgage that was suddenly too expensive. What widow wouldn't help her struggling daughter? I wrote that first check for $3,000 without hesitation. It was supposed to be temporary, just until they adjusted to the reduced income. Margaret promised to pay me back in 6 months when Mark's performance review came up. 6 months passed. No mention of repayment, but plenty of mentions of other problems that required financial solutions. Instead, Margaret called again. The kids needed school supplies and new clothes, and money was tight. Could I help with $500? Of course I could. I was their mother, and they were still grieving their father too. Then David's car broke down. Then Sarah needed help with her moving expenses. Each time they promised to pay me back when things stabilized. Things apparently never stabilized, but their requests certainly got bigger. By early 2024, I was practically funding their entire lifestyle, Margaret's kitchen renovation, David's investment opportunity that turned out to be a cryptocurrency scam, Sarah's credit card bills from shopping sprees I couldn't afford for myself. The irony? While I was emptying my savings to keep them afloat, I was eating generic soup for dinner and wearing the same cardigans I'd owned for a decade. My own children thought I was wealthy because I helped them, but I was slowly draining my teacher's pension to subsidize their middle-class lifestyle. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself they'd remember my generosity when they got back on their feet. I told myself a lot of things that turned out to be complete nonsense. The wake-up call should have been David's birthday party last year. I gave him a check for $2,000 to help with his rent, and an hour later, I overheard him telling his girlfriend's parents that his rich mom always came through when he needed cash. Rich. The woman who hadn't bought herself new shoes in 2 years was rich according to her son. But I kept writing checks because that's what mothers do, right? We sacrifice for our children. We put their needs before our own. We give until it hurts, and then give some more. What I didn't realize was that my children had stopped seeing me as a person with my own needs, and started seeing me as a resource to be managed. I wasn't their mother anymore. I was their personal bank, and they'd gotten very comfortable making withdrawals without any intention of making deposits. The Thanksgiving dinner was just the final straw. After 2 years of bleeding money and getting nothing but attitude in return, Margaret had the audacity to act like I was the problem for wanting my own money back. Well, I thought as I watched my phone light up with frantic calls that I was definitely not going to answer, they were about to learn exactly what kind of problem their mother could be when she stopped being so accommodating. You want to know the real kick in the teeth? It wasn't just the money. It was everything I'd sacrificed for these kids over the years.